Macthony Mactano here, the internet's busiest Christian music nerd. And I have hair, so that automatically makes me better. Today we're going to be looking at an album, but before you hop into it, just want to say there's some stuff down in the description. If you're interested in the channel, you want to know how this works, you want to know what I'm reviewing, when I'm reviewing it, how to review it, all that good stuff. I'm not actually going to answer all those questions, but you can go check down in the description if you're interested in the channel. Today we are going to be looking at the album Wild World by Bastille. Bastille is a very successful, pretty young pop rock band. They've only have 2 albums under their belt. This is their sophomore album. Their first album exploded with the insanely popular hit song Pompeii, was played on alternative radio and got tons of radio play on pop radio. Great song, super enjoyable, still sometimes gets played on the radio. It was a big deal. This album also had its fair share of success, although not half as successful as the debut album. This album had the song Good Grief, which had some decent radio play on alternative radio stations for a while, but then it eventually fizzled out. So it was popular, but only for a while, and it's not nearly as big of a hit song as Pompeii. The not deluxe version of this album, which is what I'm reviewing today, is only 14 I say is only 14 songs. Most albums, most alternative albums, most albums in general aren't 14 songs long. This one's 14 songs, nearly 50 minutes, no intros, no interlude tracks. And the deluxe version actually has 5 additional songs, making it 19 tracks. So that's a big album. But this one, the regular version, is just under 50 minutes. You may be wondering what the sound and tone of this album is. What does Wild World sound like? In terms of lyrics, there actually is a cohesive theme going on throughout the album, and that's of course seen in the title of the album. You can also get a lot from this theme, and it adds layers to it to know when this album was released. It was released in 2016, I think very recently, either before or after the election, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. And these lyrics are about how wild and crazy the world is. A lot of the lyrics on this album are about how crazy and just insane the world is, how broken, how everything seems like it's going downhill, how everything looks like it's going bad. And it makes for a sort of interesting concept or theme. And it's not heard on every single song, but some songs, this is very clearly the theme, like on The Currents and Warmth. Warmth. I can't say the word warmth. Warmth. I can't say that. But those songs specifically have this theme of, look how crazy and bad and mad this world is right now. If you have seen my review, the video before this one, the review for All This Bad Blood, you know that Bastille has a knack for writing very poetic lyrics that are up for interpretation, that can mean lots of different things. And this album has a lot less of that. The lyrics, for the most part, are much more straightforward, much less ambiguous, and much less poetic. There are a few exceptions to this. An Act of Kindness has these kind of vague, like, weird lyrics. It has a general theme of, like, love, sort of, but it's kind of up for interpretation. I personally think the song is, like, inspired by the movie It Follows, judging by the lyrics and the title, and I don't know, the horror movie It Follows. I think that could be what it's about. I'm not sure. And then you also have this song, the most poetic song on here, which is Fake It. The song is called Fake It. And then you also have Two Evils, which is also up for interpretation, but which seems to possibly have a political twist to it. I'm not entirely sure, but all those songs have a political vibe to them. I mean, have a poetic vibe to them. And of course, this is music, and music is often an outlet for love. So you have some love-inspired songs on this album. These songs are Warmth, Glory, Power, and Send Them Off, and a few others on this album, but these are the most love-centered album. They're clearly about Dan Smith and a significant other, about an attraction to someone, about loving someone. That's the driving force of these songs, especially Glory. Especially Glory. Yeah. As far as music is concerned, this album has a lot more varied, diverse instrumentation than All This Bad Blood. If you're actually listening for the instruments in their debut album and listening for different sounds, there's not a whole lot there. They didn't do... They do a lot with what they have, but it's not super diverse instrumentation. This album, you're going to hear trumpets, you're going to hear more electronic influence, you're going to hear a bunch of different things, which are all over the place. So, more variety in the music. A great example of this would be the song Send Them Off, which has this very prominent horns on there, like trumpets, and that's a big standout in terms of distinctive music on this album. On this album, you have your slow songs and your fast songs. Just like Bad Blood, they kind of have some, mid-tempo, they have some really fast, upbeat stuff, and then they have some really slow stuff. The slow stuff on this would be the ballads Two Evils, Four Walls, and the last song, Winter of Our Youth. The more upbeat, really energetic songs on this album would be Good Grief, Send Them Off, Snakes, Lethargy, and I guess a few others, but those are the main upbeat ones. When I'm thinking of upbeat songs, those are the main ones that come to mind. Let's cut to the chase. Is this a good album or is it a bad album? Let's talk about that. The first thing that came to my mind when listening to this album, I was insanely excited for this album, and the first things that came to my mind were, wow, this isn't like trash compared to the first album, to All This Bad Blood. This is just infinitely worse than All This Bad Blood. And my second thought was, man, I'm giving this album a lot of trash talk, but it's actually not that bad. But I thought it's bad compared to the first one, because Bad Blood is such an amazing album. It makes this album pales in comparison to the debut, but there's some good stuff here, and there's some really not good stuff here. This album has way too many lyrical and musical shortcomings. The first song, Good Grief, when I first heard this song, I was like, wow, it's such a cool song. Oh man, I love this song. It's so cool. And it's not very cool. It gets old so fast. It's the pop song structure of this album, of these songs, especially on this song, it just gets old so fast. The lyrics, not really anything there. It's not very good. You also have songs like An Act of Kindness, which is just like, ugh. Lyrically, it's sort of interesting, but the music absolutely kills it. They put all these electronic elements in it, and electronic elements and like auto-tune on the singing, and it's really repetitive, and it's just weird. The songs Two Evils and Winter of Our Youth are super duper boring, like throw away, they don't need to be there. They don't need to exist because of just how boring and dull they are. And then my other big complaint is the song Send Them Off, which the lyrics are corny. It's like comparing love and attraction to an exorcism. And you might think, oh, well, that's creative, that's cool. It's creative, it's not cool. It's not cool at all. It sounds really dumb. It's dumb lyrics on that song. Now, I am very happy to say that this album does have plenty of good stuff going for it. Especially good is the song Warmth. W-R-M-T-H, I think. The lyrics on this thing, really touching, really effective. It's about him being in love with someone and saying, hold me in this wild, wild world. It says that at the chorus. And it's about how crazy everything is and how he's getting shelter and getting security from the person he loves. And so that's really cool. That, honestly, good lyrics on that song. Has a lot of heart, really good music. The song Power sounds really cool. This song has super duper cool music. It's a banger. It's a bop. It just sounds cool. You also have the song Send Them Off. I just criticized it, but Musically, this song is glorious. That's the best word for this song, is glorious. It just sounds epic and insane and awesome, and the trumpets sound so cool. You don't hear these trumpets on most music, and it's really original, and it just sounds so awesome. Some other songs I really like on here, Four Walls. This is a slow ballad, but with haunting lyrics, haunting vocals, haunting everything. It's a haunting song, and it's Bastille doing what they do best, basically. It's really cool. It's a very effective, slow, kind of dark song. And then, of course, you have the songs Lethargy and Snakes. Both of those, just all around good. All around good music, all around good lyrics, so they're wins. And another song on this thing that is, I guess it's kind of divisive, and it's kind of tricky to know if you like it or dislike it, because it's a tricky song, is Fake It. Fake It is about the closest Bastille gets to their debut on this album, I would say. With its lyrics, with its ambiguous lyrics that you can interpret in different ways. And it's honestly super interesting. The music and the vocals are really good. And the lyrics are, I guess they're hit or miss. If you could like it, you could dislike it. But I like it. I think it's cool. And before I just wrap up the review, just have to say, vocals on this album are as good as always. Bastille is a fan. Dan Smith is a fantastic singer. Really brings a lot of life and power and coolness to these songs. Great singer. Great vocalist. To wrap it up, I would say this album is nearly as good as the debut. Not even like nearly, even not even close to as good as the debut. I couldn't even call this album a great album. 4 stars for me is a great album, and I could not call this a great album. But I'd have to say, I mean, there are just too many flaws. There's things that they did wrong in the music, there's stuff they did wrong in the lyrics, and overall just sounds mediocre compared to the original. But this album also has some really good lyrics and some really good music and great singing, and it's better than 90% of pop music. If this is alternative pop, it's pop rock, and it's honestly fairly enjoyable. The majority of this album is fairly enjoyable. There are flaws, but there's also some really good stuff. I'm going to give this album a 3.5 out of 5. Did you like it or did you hate it? You're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Needle drop, needle drop, needle drop, needle drop, needle drop, needle drop. Drop top, raindrop, drop pop. I don't know. I'm done. Have a good one. It's late. It's getting dark.